Hey guys, it's Day Heat. This will be the intermission phase 2, beginning of phase 3, basically end of P2, Mythic Midnight Falls walkthrough for skill issue. There is a lot to go over, so we're going straight into it. First thing, markers for the officers. It's just cardinal directions. So orange goes south where the entrance is, gold to the right, X to the left, star to the north. You can put it down before we pull the boss. It's just a little difficult to make sure it's in the exactly correct position. Not that it really needs to be too exact, outside of maybe one reason. But yeah, we can start putting these down before we start bowling to get them in the best spot we can. Intermission. This is a little bit redesigned from what we did last reset. Um, all it stands for is M melee, H for healer, R for range, so on and so forth. These spots, excuse me, for some of you guys have also changed a little bit. You can just find them in the spreadsheet. I'm not going to go over it too much. The part that I do want to go over is just some individual assignments to help make this a little bit easier. Tanks, I want you guys to play at max melee distance. Healers, you need to make sure you know who is and who is not around you. That goes for the ranged DPS as well that aren't holding crystals. So, for example, if you're in the healer 2 spot, which is Fizz and Cud, depending on what the availability is between you guys, as you look at the boss, you'll move right as you dodge beams, so that way you move away from melee 5, and then healer 4, which will be Tabby. You need to make sure you move left as you look at the boss, so that you also move away from melee 5. And then R9, which is Tiger, you just have to be cautious of Tabby's movement in front of you. R7, you kind of have a difficult job. This is let's just make sure you're not moving too far to me or Tiger when you do this. So just don't always dodge left. Don't just always dodge right. You need to, go left on one beam and then go right on the next as best as you can. If you do creep towards us, it's not a big deal. Just let us shout at Tiger or me, depending on which way you go, that you're doing that so that we can make sure we're keeping our eyes out for you. Um, and then the last assignments are melee 1 through 4. You need to make sure you're watching for the tanks and when they drop their crystals, so that you don't accidentally snipe them. And then for the ranged 2, 3, 8, and 6 players, you need to be, if range 4 dies, so if Crimmy dies and he says somebody's grabbed my crystal, Dalt, that'll be your assignment. For range 3, if I die with it, Cody, that's you. For R9, if Tigger dies with it, Zancha, you pick it up, and then Nova, you're in charge if Wumbo dies with it. So, right when we get into phase 2, there are going to be beam soaks immediately. The way the beam soaks work is that we'll target always one tank, which is always the active tank, I believe, one healer, one melee DPS, and one range DPS. So these are the splits. If you go into the spreadsheet and you go look at phase 2 assignments, you will see who the R1 through 4 people are, so you know where you are. Wherever you are assigned, you always soak this beam the entire phase 2. So if I'm assigned to orange, because I believe I'm R1, oh wait, no, I moved myself off that, I believe. Cody's R1. So Cody will always soak this orange beam. Always, always, always. Every single healer, always in the orange beam. Every single tank, always in the star. Every melee, always in the X, so on and so forth. Every single time we get these beams, there will be an AMZ that goes down. So just make sure you get pretty close to the boss to help mitigate damage as best we can. For phase 2, the first beams, they go a little bit left as you look at the boss. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that the right line, so this line right here, this line, this line, this line, as you look at the boss, should be going over your marker, and that's it, to make sure you hit the balls. If you do this, you don't even need to look behind you to make sure you're hitting it. Just Jesus take the wheel and trust that it's going to work. If you are skeptical and need to see it once to believe it, by all means go for it. We'll wipe to this phase a few times, but you can trust that as long as the right edge of the line from the beam that you're shooting is on the edge of this marker for the first beam only, you will hit it. For the second beam, a lot easier. It goes directly through the marker. Can't screw that up. And for the third beam, it's kind of like the first beam, but the opposite. It's the left edge of your beam, so you'll go slightly right of your marker. And obviously there's these planets rotating around. Those are what we're trying to hit. Post galvanized circles, which is these. We'll get to those in a second. Um, when we come back, we aren't going back to like soaking our beams immediately. You want to play in between markers, ideally close to where the beam you're soaking is going to be, so that when these shoot, they will go through the markers almost every single time. Sometimes they'll be a little bit left, sometimes they'll be a little bit right, and that is in accordance to the first beams being a little bit left and the third beams being a little bit right. But for the most part, if you stand in between the markers, you're going to be safe. And you don't even have to watch for them to shoot. They'll go through the marker and go to the boss, and then you can go back and redo your next beams. And then obviously it's just the tanks with the 3 range DPS with them would go here, all melee go here, all healers with their 1 range DPS, which would be Coda here, and then all their other range DPS would go here. If you go to like someone else's spot, it doesn't matter. It's just to make it easier for everyone. So after we shoot these beams off, we're going to get this circle mechanic, which is called Galvanize. The way it's going to work is all of you have been assigned a spot, and you can see it right here, along with are you a crystal holder in this phase or not. This is your assigned spot. In this spreadsheet, to make it easier for you, I have put a little how to remember where you are, because we need to learn these very quick or the phase 2 pulls are going to be pretty crappy. So please, please, please learn this quickly. Put it down in your LR if you need just that gentle reminder. That's probably the safest thing to do, so you don't have to fumble and think about what it is in the first time we get here. But this is what it should look like. Crystal people, we'll talk about how our job is different in just a second. When we're shooting these beams, and this is just for crystal people, so if you're not a crystal person, you can ignore this part. We are going to drop our crystals like so. Some raid teams will drop all of their crystals on top of each other. The problem with that is you may accidentally pick up someone else's crystal that dropped it if you don't drop it in like the same half a second as one another. So what we're going to do instead is we're actually going to drop them not on top of each other and drop them in individually assigned spots. So the range 2 person will drop it in the back, range 3 in the center, in the middle between range 2 and range 4, and the range 4 person closer to the boss. R1, you will just drop it anywhere that's not your beam, and melee 1 anywhere that's not your beam. You cannot soak this beam while holding your crystal, or you'll spawn soaks, or you'll blow us up. Either or, it doesn't really matter. It's pretty bad, especially considering the follow-up mechanics in this phase. So just drop your crystal. It's not that difficult. You'll drop it 2 seconds before the beam goes off. And also for crystal people, when we get this galvanized part right here, there's going to be a Kai'Veza-like gravity pull-in that's going to occur. We are not fighting it if you are a crystal person. Everyone else who is not a crystal person is going to fight it and start going to their spots during that gravity pull-in. You are going to wait and drop all of our crystals together in the center of the room at the same moment. Now, there is some little bit of tech that I think would be very good for all of us to use. So if you have this activated in NSRT, all of these crystal drops, these seed drops, are already in here for you. If you click it, hit OK. What I have done is I've changed this display. It's defaulted as text, changed it to a circle. I changed the color because yellow makes sense. And then I added a sound using my Atrocity Media Pack that just says drop. So when this plays, it's going to tell me the moment I need to drop my seed. And I would highly recommend that all of you guys do this. It will make it so difficult for us to screw up as long as we all drop it when this circle hits 0. And then as far as placement goes, I just put directly over my character like how the old weak ores used to work. If you do it on one, it's going to save it to all of them. So I would almost say that is a mandatory thing to do so that we don't wipe to something completely unnecessary. So again, we will all drop our seeds at the same time when that goes off, and then we'll go to our individual spots. This will blow up, and the moment it blows up, we go and pick up our seeds, and then we go soak our next beams, and phase 2 just repeats itself 3 times. The last part, which is the transition of phase 2 into phase 3, is we are going to get blasted off into space, and we have to have all of our crystals picked up at this point. So we all have our crystals right now. You must have it. If you do not pick up your crystal, the crystal will not follow us into phase 3. It's just going to stay here, and we're just going to naturally die because of that. So in our spreadsheet, the phase 3 spreadsheet, I did my best to keep all of you in the same spots that you were for all of the other galvanizes. Unfortunately, for some of you, you moved, but I tried to do as little movement as possible, or make it so like you're mirrored across the room, or have some sort of attempted to have some sort of a logic if I did have to put you in a new spot. There are some spots where the crystal people have to be in. So if you're going on the right side, it has to be the 2, 3rd, and 4th spot. So Zancha, me, and Wumbo. And then if you are in the 6, 7, 8 spot, so Crimmy, Tiger, and then Cody, you have to be in those spots. I'm assuming so. I am not definitively sure of that, but I am preventing any sort of mistake from happening, and we should get soaks that are going to look like this. One of these is the crystal spawn. It is almost always the one that's in between the other two. And then there's going to be 2 soaks that have to be done. In our spreadsheet, I have assigned what your job is, okay? So for example, if I'm Crimmy, I'm holding a crystal when this goes off, but then I'm going to lose my crystal when we get shot away from the middle of the room. So he will no longer have it now. And he will go, as the 6th person, go and soak the rightmost soak from his group. And then Tiger is in 7, will also lose his crystal. He will not go pick it back up, and he will also do the rightmost. And then the logic is Cody will go get his crystal, just like I will go get mine, because we will be the first crystal users of phase 3. And then the 2 healers on that side will also get their crystal. Okay, so you need to make sure you all understand this. Only Cody and I, from holding crystals in phase 2, will continue to hold our crystals when we get to phase 3. If you are a healer, you will grab a crystal when we go to phase 3. And the reason for that is it will make you not a candidate for memory game, so you don't have to worry about movement and you can just heal. Okay, that's the logic behind it all. The last quick thing that I want to note before we watch it is the star splinters, which is the intermission damage. Per hit, it's doing about 200k ish, with about 15 to 20% mitigation across the board. On average, each of us will get hit at minimum 2 times, if not 3. If you are very lucky, it will only be 1. Okay, but that is incredible luck. Outside of that, there's also a passive dot that's going to be doing 26k per second, and if you're holding a crystal, that will be increased to 44k per second. So healers, you have to make sure that you are really, really babysitting these crystal people and giving them lots of love. Do not be afraid to throw externals. Crystal people, do not be afraid to use personals. And I want to make sure everyone understands, when we get to this part, it is empty the bag for basically all of Prague, because you shouldn't really need too many personals when we get into phase 2. You will need them in phase 3, but you really shouldn't need them all that badly in phase 2, as long as you are making sure to get inside of this AMZ for every single one of these beams. I think that's kind of about it. I don't think there's any other assignments that we really need to go over. So let's watch from the beginning of intermission. So we're going to sides here. He's going to pass a crystal off. We'll do it before we start running at all. And there's not really a lot to watch here other than just being careful of your crystal people being to the right and left of you. This is something I do want to point out. So you'll see these 2 people are super close to each other. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at with like M1, M3, M2, and M4 here, where you guys can play on top of each other. Don't kill each other, obviously, but you can play pretty damn close to one another. Now, there is one other thing I didn't mention about this intermission. Again, empty the bag if you didn't hear that part. Make sure you're using defensives. There's no reason not to. There's 0 reason to hold on to especially on progression, healthstone, health pot, blah, blah, blah. We also will lust this for progression's sake as well to help healers. And don't be afraid if you can heal yourself to heal yourself doing this, especially as we progress. If you die in this intermission, or if we go into this intermission with less than 20 people, it always will shoot out the same amount of stars. So if we get to the final one of these star splinters, that's going to happen in about 15 seconds here. One person, let's say there's only 19 people alive, one person is going to get 2 of these splinters on them simultaneously, and there's a good chance that they're not going to be of the same formation. And if that goes on the crystal person, their job is a lot more difficult. So you'll see everyone gets these splinters here. This person over here on the right has a crystal. Imagine if they would have had a person dead here and they would have gotten a double star splinter here, they would have had to find a way to drop their crystal and also not blow up their crystal simultaneously while dodging those beams, right? So they're going to pass off their crystals. And now we're going to go into phase 2. You'll see pretty fast here, we're going to get our first beams. The people who are holding crystals, you are ineligible to get hit, to like get targeted with a beam. Okay, so that's part of the strategy, and this is part of why like the melee forced comp of 5, it's not 100% forced, but it makes our lives abundantly easier by doing so. So these beams go a little bit left of the marker. You can see they're kind of shooting it straight on. Shooting it straight on will probably work just as well. They'll drop their crystals before the beam goes off and go in and soak, and then go and pick them back up. The crystal people will allow the gravity pull-in to take them to the center of the room. If you are not a crystal person, you should be running to your assigned spot in that galvanize picture. And then you will see here that there's going to be this bar that he's included that says seed drop. That's what I change into the little circle change that I showed, and why I would recommend to do it, because if we all have this, we all drop it at the same time, and then we get in our galvanized spots. See people go pick it back up immediately. Now these planets that we just shot are going to shoot through these markers and go to the boss. We're going to play between the markers, and now we're going to repeat. So now we're going to get the next set of beams. And again, if you are assigned to orange, you always do orange. Same with star, same with the X, same with skull. These will go straight through the marker, dropping seeds, getting your beam, pick it back up, getting pulled to the center. Wait, drop crystals, galvanize spots, go back and pick it up, get between markers again. These are going to shoot. Essentially, it's just going to repeat itself 3 times, guys. Okay, that simple. It's almost always raid-wide damage to healers whenever there is damage going on. Not really a lot of like single target things going on, minus the dot from the seed carriers. This is the last one. Shoot. Get pulled in. Do your third galvanize. Drop crystals. Pick them up. Go between markers. Planets come in. And then we're going to get the final galvanize. That's going to send us into phase 3. Again, this may be a different marker for you, so make sure you put it in your LR if it is potentially a different marker for you. It won't be for everybody. And then we are going to catch. So it's going to be the crystal soak, and then one left and one right. So this is pretty obvious. This one, you would consider the leftmost one to be left, the rightmost one to be right. Before this blast goes off, it is going to be a roar right before, and it is going to be a time spiral right before. So you'll have all the movement in the world to help you get here. Essentially, once you land, and we can even count it real quick, we land at 5:32, let's say, and you have to be at these soaks to catch within 2 seconds of that, 2.5 seconds of that. So you don't get to stand still and cast anything, okay? You have to move once you land immediately. Now, we'll go into a phase 3 when we get to the phase 3 video. That's going to be about it. Again, lots of assignments here, lots of individual things that have to get done correctly. There are no new GitHub week or anything like that you need for phase 2 or anything. And this is just showing you guys what the graphics look like as you're flying through the air, so you know what you need to go get. Please make sure you're taking advantage of the timeline reminders and putting in all this information in of what your assignment is to go soak, of where you're supposed to be standing between these for the first 3 galvanizes in LR versus the last galvanize. So what that will look like is, here's galvanize, this is first, second, third, and then, or maybe it's criticality, sorry, criticality, and then the last criticality, which will be this one, which will send us into phase 3. So the galvanize is the beam and the criticality is the circles. I completely messed that up the entire video, and that's on me. There is one other thing that you can do too, if you would like to. If you are a seed carrier in the intermission, I also made a circle one of this to just let me know when beams are coming out every single time. Just so as a crystal carrier, I can hopefully screw that up less. So as always, guys, get a hold of me if you have any questions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys at Raid.